I said, well, Lord, okay. Be kind of different for a Sunday morning. God's not real concerned about it being different on a Sunday morning. God wants to honor somebody today that had a big part to do with this place. He was faithful every Sunday. Travis Davis, every Sunday morning, I could expect Travis. We were down at the house. I could always look out that window, and at between 10 and 10:15, here he came. And we'd visit, and we'd pray, and we'd drink a cup of coffee. See, Travis was one of those people that had been hurt in church and said he was never going to go back. But he found us, and I don't think he ever missed a Sunday. Travis Leroy Davis. He was born March the 7th, 1957. He died December the 5th of 2025. Travis was born on a farm east of Walsh, Colorado, in one of the worst blizzards ever on March the 7th, 1957. His dad delivered him at home. 2 days later, they made it to town through the snowdrifts to the doctor. The doctor looked Travis over and charged full price for a delivery. Said his dad was really upset. When he was 3, his family moved to Elkhart, Kansas. That's where he attended school there from kindergarten through the 12th grade. And after graduation, Travis moved to Oklahoma City and became a self-taught carpenter, which became his hobby and work. Travis was preceded in death by his wife, Patrice, and his son, Levi. But there were some survivors that he was also preceded by that are still here. They weren't mentioned in this, but I will mention them this morning. He has a daughter by the name of Trish. You know, Travis loved her dearly. He brought them to church here one Sunday, and sweet people. I wish they didn't live in Shawnee, Oklahoma, because I was like, man, I'd love for you all to be here. Travis fasted and prayed for them to have a baby, because they didn't have a baby, and they wanted a baby. But he fasted for them, and he prayed for them. And Travis has gone to heaven, and he's going to get to look down in another month or two, and he's going to see a new baby girl being born into this world. Because that was a miracle in itself, that they're going to get to have a baby. And so when I had talked to her, they were thrilled. And I remember Travis talking to me about it, saying, you know, I've been fasting, I've been praying. He loved to pray. He also has another daughter by the name of Leanne, who has a very successful hairdressing business down in Edmond. He has a son by the name of Trevor. And Travis was really proud of Trevor too. He's proud of all of his kids, but I'm just telling you, Trevor works for Life Church, and he took on his dad's construction. And he goes wherever Life Church goes and starts a new campus. Trevor goes and designs and is overseeing all of that. And so I find it amazing. You know, they always say the apple doesn't far fall from the tree. And so Trevor is following his dad's footsteps in construction. And then he has a son also by the name of TJ who resides in Oklahoma City also. Travis loved his kids. He loved his family. He talked about them often whenever him and I had conversations. And Travis was one that would always say, ain't no problem. Ain't no problem. I'd have him come down and he looked at my house because I was wanting to remodel. I was wanting to tear out a wall. And I knew Travis, he was pretty doggone good because all the carpentry work that he did was in Nichols Hills. Now, you just aren't a sloppy old carpenter to work in Nichols Hills. And I knew that he worked down there, and I thought, well, man, who better to come and look at my house and tell me if I can tear a wall out? So I said, Travis, I need you to come down and look at my wall. And so he came and he looked. And I said, is this a support wall? Can I tear this out? Well, it's a support wall. I was like, but his words are, ain't no problem. Well, they ain't no problem. Well, to him, it wasn't a problem. To me, I'm looking at it going, that's a problem. That means I got to put a beam in. I got to tear all this electrical out. I got to do all this stuff's going through my head. But to him, ain't no problem. But that was his attitude with life throughout the days that I knew him. And if you was around Travis very long, he was going to let you know that God saved his life more than once. And he'd tell the story of being electrocuted. And he told me that story several different times as he was working on an air conditioning system. And he got hold of the wires and they got crossed on him and he got hammered. Out cold. Dead. And he said, but God told me it isn't time for you to get up here yet. And he came back to life. I think about the funny times whenever we was in service one time. Some of you might have been there. Whenever we were down at the house. Something came up and we're talking. It's right in the middle of service. I'm preaching and Travis says, what the cat fuzz? That was one of his sayings. And there was a lady that was there that was going to the church, and she was an older lady, and she wasn't hearing real well. And she's had to move off to be with her son, who was taking care of her in Arkansas. But she was there that day, and Travis said, well, what the cat fuzz? And she was like, what do you say? I said, he said, what the cat fuzz? She says, I got a cat. It has fuzz. And I thought Travis was I've seen him laugh, but that day he laughed. And he laughed. He thought that was the funniest thing. And so it became the joke, It still is with Rhonda and I today. We'll see something. We'll say, what the cat fuss? And laugh about it. Because those are fun memories. Those are fun memories of Trav and what he did. But he was a very skilled individual when it come to carpentry, when it come to remodel, he redid buses. He would redo a bus and make an old school bus look like the Taj Mahal inside. He'd run all the wiring, he'd run all the water, he'd run everything. He'd gut that thing and then fix it all up. It was amazing. And I was just amazing at the skills that man had. But I know that one of his favorite scriptures, one of his favorite books in the Bibles was the 91st Psalm. He loved that. And I'm going to read it today. He loved the 91st Psalm. And one reason he loved it, and he told this story often too, Travis had a nephew that was in the armed services. And he would talk about how his nephew, they would speak and they would pray the 91st Psalm over their self every day before they went out. And I believe they were over in Afghanistan and they were driving a Humvee. And he said they prayed that 91st Psalm all the time. But he said one day they were driving along in this Humvee and they just fell off in a well, right straight down a well. And he said they don't know how, but somehow they came out of the well. And his nephew always said God did that for them. And Travis would tell me that story and he would talk about how they prayed every day the 91st Psalm and how God protected them and watched over them. The same that He would do for us. The same that He'd do for anybody. You know, I didn't know it for a long time. One day we were talking and Travis said, well, yeah, I wasn't a pastor. And I was like, what? But you're so quiet. Pastors talk a lot. Travis was a very quiet man. He kept a lot of everything to himself. But he loved the Lord. In the 91st Psalm, it says, He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. You know, you could stop right there and we just had church. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent. You shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Travis knows about all that salvation because God showed him His salvation a couple days ago as he entered into heaven. I remember how much he loved coming to church. You know, he come to church one Sunday and he come walking through the door and he couldn't walk very good. And I was like, what in the world is going on with Trav? He dragging his foot. His arm was just kind of hanging. And I was like, Travis, are you okay? What are you doing here? Are you all right? Yep. Yep. You sure you're okay? Yep. After church, some people took him to the doctor. And he had had a stroke. But he still drug himself to church. I was like, what kind of person is this, Lord? It's not that he was coming for me, but he loved to honor the Lord. He loved to. And he felt like if I come to church, I'm honoring the Father. And he'd come. Found out he had a stroke and his blood pressure was out the roof, and I was like, dear Lord. But he was there the next Sunday. And he was there the next Sunday. And he was believing that, by gosh, God was going to heal him. Because he believed in this psalm. He believed that the word of the Lord was true. He believed in his heart God was going to heal him of that stroke and he was going to be okay. And the next thing I know, the guy's out working and doing carpentry work again, climbing up on a ladder, doing stuff that I'm thinking, you probably ought not be doing. You know, I was like I don't know. Old Mother Hen over him, I guess. Travis, you don't need to be doing that. You don't need to be doing that, Travis. You don't need to be up on that ladder. What are you doing up on a ladder, dude? You don't need to be on a ladder. It ain't no problem, he'd say. No problem. Not a problem. And he kept working, kept building, kept doing things, kept believing in this psalm, kept believing that God was still a healer. He believed that whenever he came to church, whenever he found out he had cancer. He still believed and he didn't give up. He didn't quit. He didn't stop on me. He didn't stop on the Father. He kept believing and kept believing and kept believing. And I believe that he believed till he took his last breath. And what he believed then was, bless God, I'm healed. I'm healed. I'm healed, I'm whole, and I'm well, and I'm in my glorified body, and I'm walking through the gates of heaven, and there is my beautiful wife, Patrice, and bless God, I get to see her again. Hallelujah. That was what he was looking for, that prize that he was looking for, what he was searching for all of his life. He nursed his wife for 5 years through cancer herself. Travis helped so many people. I know people that Travis helped and didn't charge a dime for doing what he did. There was a man in Crescent, Oklahoma who had an old dilapidated garage that had holes in it and everything else. And Travis went over and put all new siding on it, fixed it all up. Guy wanted to know how much. Nothing. Nothing, no charge. See, he had a heart like the Lord's. He liked to give. Travis loved to give. He loved to give people things. He bought meat from me. Not for himself. He gave it away. He just gave it away to people. Somebody needed it. He made sure that they had meat in their freezer. It wasn't for him. He'd say, I need another one. I need another one. I was like, what in the heck are you doing with all this beef crap? What are you doing with this stuff? I need another one. You do? Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't keeping it for himself because I was like, ain't no man, single man by himself eating that much hamburger. That ain't happening. But he was giving it away. Because in his heart, he was a giver. I said that he'd give you the shirt off his back if you asked it for him. He would. He gave to this church unconditionally. When there was a need, he knew. I'll never forget, we went to the bank. We were believing for an air conditioning system. And we took the deposit to the bank, not even thinking, not looking, just, here, we need to deposit this. And we knew what usually came in, and that's what was written down on the deposit slip. We didn't pay much attention to it and handed it to the teller. And she handed it back and said, that's not the right amount. It's more than that. What? We look at it. That can't be right. He must have made a mistake. We'll go make a phone call. We'll be back. I called Travis. Hey, buddy, you made a mistake here. Whoa, well, how's that? I say, we'll put this in the bank. He said, it's not a mistake. And Rhonda and I sit and cried in the car. And we put a new air conditioner in the church. See, his heart was to give. And I'm sad that there was people that took gross advantage of his heart. But I know he loved his children, irregardless of the last days of his life. He loved them. He talked about them to me all the time. Where are you going for dinner today, Travis? Oh, we're driving over down. Going to go see the grandkids. And I know he loved them kids because when he'd come to church, he was here when my little baby Wyatt was born. And Wyatt was just a tiny baby, you know. And Travis loved to sit and hold him. He'd sit in there in that chair. I can see him. I can see him sitting in that chair holding my little grandson with a big smile on his face. And he would just sit there and hold him and rock him. And Wyatt would sleep in his arms. So I know he loved those children. And he loved those kids. He loved those grandkids. Irregardless of the last days of his life, the things that took place then, that wasn't the Travis we knew. Damage had happened and damage had taken place. The Travis that we all knew was still in there. The man that was full of love. The man that talked about how good Jesus had been to him. About the goodness of God. The man that discussed and talked about, man, ain't no problem. He went and looked at my son's house, told him the same thing. I would get tickled because he'd always just say, it ain't no problem. It ain't a problem. And I'm sure those last minutes of life, he just looked and said, it ain't no problem. I'm going on over. Hallelujah. The things that he's seen now, I can't even imagine. They probably got him up there working on mansion, putting beams in where they need beams. Putting doors in where they need doors. Doing things that God had taught him to do here. As it said, he was self-taught. But he was probably one of the best architects around when it come to knowing how much support needed to be put in to carry the weight of something across. I don't know how many garage doors in Nichols Hills got straightened up because Travis Davis came and they straightened them up and put a big beam across it. Many. I just want you all to remember Travis as a wonderful, wonderful man who loved God, who had a testimony about heaven and the good things of the Father. Who never gave up, always pressed forward, always did, and would always come to help. If you ever needed help, he would always ask, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Let me come help. Let me come help. That was his heart. That was his life, and he's got a legacy that he's left through his children who love the Lord, a daughter that's a nurse, a son who works in the ministry, who serves the Lord in different aspects. You know, Trisha's husband works for the food bank. Did when I met him. Servants. A nurse is a servant. Even a hairdresser is a servant. Because they serve us well. When we look really ugly, they can fix us up really good. But I appreciate them. And if they're watching today, I'd let them know that we were going to be honoring their father. And that's what we did today. I honor a man whom I dearly loved. Not only was he a brother, but he was a friend. And Travis, we honor you today, buddy. Enjoy your eternity. We're all going to see you soon. Real soon. Real soon. Thank you, Father.